there, Whovians, and welcome to another episode of Our Station Who. That's right, we are back with our season 215, whatever, wrap up, whatever you want to call it. But we wrapped it up. We made it through the 8 episodes, 9 if you count the Christmas special, and it's been a lot of ups and downs, but a lot of fun, and we got a great crew here to talk about it. And, we were surprised by a lot. We were saddened by a lot. And you know what? I'm looking forward to talking with these people, my friends, my compadres, my Whovian friends. So it's going to be a lot of fun to do it. And we are joined by Sean Whelan. Welcome back to the show, sir.
It is always an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
I think this is the first time you've been on the Doctor Who podcast. I know you've been on Earth Station 1 quite a few times when we were still doing that. And you want to tell the folks about you?
Yeah, I'm also a podcaster. I do a podcast called Raging Bullets. It's a comics fan podcast. We do weekly recordings where we cover a lot of the classic comic book stories and current stuff as well. We used to be a DC only podcast, and finally it broke down into a season 2 and kind of can cover everything and anything. And I'm also on Is It Jaws, a film review podcast that we do bi-weekly. Paul Spataro invited me to be a part of that podcast. And we review movies based on the Jaws 1 through 4 scale. So,
oh, nice. So do you rate them by how many bites it took? Or
some of them, yes.
That is awesome. And we'll have links up to your shows up in the show notes so folks can check out. It's great to have you back. And I love you jumped at it when I invited you on the show for this. So what were your, just real briefly, what was your overall feelings with this season of Doctor Who?
Overall, I loved it.
Okay.
I like him a lot. Okay. So there's hope, there's excitement to him. I think it started out a little slow, and built up along the way. I felt like we got into a couple episodes that got a little scary and started to have a little meat to them. And I liked where we were building to. Right. It became apparent there were some changes along the way. As what happened with the ending of it. And I wished I would have liked to have seen where it was gonna go, if that makes any sense. But I liked him, and I think that's really a critical piece. I know I keep going back to that, but he is a Doctor who I really enjoyed, and I like one of the things that's great about Doctor Who is every time you get a new Doctor, you get the variety of the personality. I thought he brought back a lot of positivity to the show and fun and adventure. Everything had this sense of wonder to it. Sometimes you wanted to slow him down a bit, and I loved that kind of frantic piece. It took me back to what I loved about Tom Baker, to be honest. I'm not saying he's a clone of him, but it was that energy that he brought back to Doctor Who, and that's part of the fun of the change, is kind of getting that back again. I don't think we've had that in a long time, and that sounds like I'm knocking the previous Doctors. Not at all. This was just refreshing, I thought. And
no, that's nice. That's nice, and we're not even knocking Chibnall this early into the show, so it's perfect.
Ding.
Exactly.
Until now. So it's interesting that, you thought that way. And we're going to strap you into the Geek Seat in a second. But folks, if you want to leave us any feedback or anything, please, write us. Feedback at ourstationwho.com is the best way to get in touch with us. Also, if you want, please like and subscribe. It's the best way people could find. And, we've been getting more and more emails. We've been getting new followers in Facebook, on Instagram. So thank you, everyone who's been doing it. We do appreciate you guys. All right. If you haven't seen this season yet, folks, we are going to spoil it tonight. Some people wait till the whole season's over to binge watch it all back to back to back. I know quite a few people who've done that. So, where have you been? We've been waiting for you guys to catch up with us. But we're glad you're here if you're watching us tonight. So thank you. All right. Whovian Geek Seat time. Since there's no Doctor Who news really to talk about other than us going, oh my God, last week, and yelling and screaming and throwing. So it'll be interesting to see what we think a week later. Okay, Sean, are you ready for your first question in the Geek Seat?
Go for it.
All right. Sean, who is your first Doctor?
Tom Baker. It was sometime in the early 80s. It was on a black and white television of all things. It was our local PBS station had in Cleveland, Channel 25. It was 11:30 each night. It was during a summer. My dad brought home a black and white television, happened to be flipping through the channels. This is back in the day where we didn't have a lot of choice. And I caught this crazy, frantic man. It was partway through Sontaran Experiment.
Oh,
And thanks to the re-releases, I caught Robot and later on and
yeah.
watched what I missed. But that was a great place to start. There was a lot going on. It was Sarah and Harry, and it was a half an hour. So, I was literally getting it episodic. It was on every night. I watched it the first night and it just hooked me. And I was partway through a story. So it wasn't, I was catching myself partway through and getting myself caught up. It wasn't even like I got a recap at the beginning of the episode. I was in part like 10 minutes in and just got hooked on the guy.
What drew you to it? I'm just curious.
Him. He's hard to like. I mean, I can't say it was the colorful nature of it because it was black and white, but there was something about his energy that it just got me excited. I wasn't, on the first episode because I only saw the 15 minutes of it. I can't say what it was exactly that hooked me, other than there was something that made me want to come back the next night to see more. And then I found that I was making sure I was there for it. And I fell in love. I mean, it was just been a great program ever since.
That's what I loved about the old series was the cliffhangers.
Yeah.
And it was like 25 minutes, boom, cliffhanger. Then you had the 2-minute recap at the very beginning, like you had the last minute of the previous episode, and then boom, you got into the new adventures. We had it the same way when I grew up in Maryland, and it was just like, this is awesome. And then when we went to the new series, it's like, where are the cliffhangers? We want the cliffhangers back. So, and that's actually, I don't remember they did that with one of the Capaldi seasons where all the episodes were at least 2-parters, and they had it, So it was pretty cool with that. And that's one of the things I miss about Doctor Who. Which Doctor would you want to travel with, Sean?
Tom Baker, especially if K9 was part of the deal.
Oh, okay. Because you'd basically be pushing K9 along.
That's fine. I understand the all-terrain thing problem.
Yes.
They all help carry him along the way. I'm a robot geek. I mean, that would have been one. There was something about K9, especially as a kid. It was like, he's got a robot dog. And that's an example of, it really does give you this disbelief where you're watching it and like, okay, I'm playing along.
Especially as a little kid, a robot dog. That's awesome. So that's very, very cool. So let's look at the other side. Which Doctor would you not want to travel with?
So I want to be careful with this one. Peter Capaldi. That sounds like I hated him. I don't.
Right.
But, I enjoyed his era, but man, could he be harsh. They were wonderful episodes. Great example of how the companions bring balance to the storytelling. So I'm not knocking his era, but I think he would be harsh to travel with. And there was times where I was very sympathetic with the companions, but I loved the era. But I would not want to be in the TARDIS necessarily with him.
I could understand that. He'd be, putting you down all the time, calling you stupid pudding head, stuff like that. So I could understand that. I could definitely understand that. What geeks you out most about Doctor Who?
Think we see this with Doctor Who not only in television but in other media like novels and the Big Finish productions and stuff like that. Doctor Who can tell any kind of story. If you can imagine it, there's a way to fit it in the Whoniverse, whatever you want to call it. So that's something that I've always loved about it. It's the variety. It's when writers try to challenge it and try to do new things, and they do it well. Not everything goes well with Doctor Who, as we know. I mean, it's not all perfect. There's a lot of content that's out there. But man, I love the fact when they nail something that you thought, oh, you never thought they'd do a Doctor Who story like that. And that's half the fun of it. I think it's very unique in the fact that it can get away with a lot.
No, agreed. What turns your geek off about Doctor Who?
it's kind of a today thing, and I'll make this quick because I don't want to get soapboxy.
This is your segment, man. You could be on your segment as big as you want.
It's fallen victim to today's condemn it before it's viewed culture, if that makes sense.
No, completely.
We don't all have to agree on what is our favorite things about the show. We don't have to agree about the episodes because, listen, if you've watched it, you have your right to be open-minded. But if you didn't like it, you didn't like it. But there is this contingent that are blasting things out there before they've even seen it. It isn't exclusive to Doctor Who, but I hate seeing things tank before they've even been viewed and given a fair chance to gain an expanded audience. We all have favorite doctors. I threw out Tom Baker was mine, but everybody here has their own. I mean, and that's very personal. So that means we all like certain different things, then dislike certain things. But that's something that I think Doctor Who's fallen victim to. It's if you've watched it and you don't like it, that's your dime. So you're 100% in. That's the part. It's if you didn't watch it, why are you weighing in on this?
Nope, totally makes sense. It totally makes sense, and that's usually the number one answer actually on the show right now is fandom, or the toxicity of all across not just Doctor Who but across fandom right now. So, all right, which Doctor Who companion would you like to travel with?
Sarah Jane Smith.
Okay.
I feel like she was my first gateway into feeling like I could be in the TARDIS. She felt like everybody's big sister when I was a kid. Even her final episode where there was bickering between her and the Doctor and the threat to leave, which was brilliantly acted, because we knew she didn't mean it. But yet that whole scene played out, and the Doctor was kind of oblivious to it because of where he was at. There was something that felt real about the relationship, and seeing dangers of time travel while getting that sense of wonder. In the early 80s, when Harry Sullivan left, it kind of opened the imagination, the idea that, well, somebody else could fit into the TARDIS crew and be in there. And I loved that feeling. I mean, it was just a great era. And I really liked her as an actress on the show. I liked her even better when she was, kind of continuing on, we got a chance to revisit her again and get to see her reappear because she's I think because of the entryway into Doctor Who that I had, she's got a special place in my heart as far as companions go.
No, totally makes sense. I think most of us agree with what you just said, actually. So it's pretty cool. Which Doctor Who villain would you not like to meet?
The Cybermen. I was going to say Weeping Angels because they're real creepy. But there's something creepy about how the Cybermen, I think this has continued to evolve, mess with your mind. They take away all your personality, but in the best episodes, we see that something still lingers deep and hidden that reaches out for release, where you see the people, there's that hint that person's still there. And just that feeling of being trapped inside this robotic version of yourself is just something that I find horrifying. And we've seen companions actually get caught into that trap. So
we saw that with Bill.
Yes,
the final Capaldi storyline. So yeah, and you totally saw that and how that happened. So yeah, mostly I could understand that because with everybody now, talking about implants or mechanical parts to replace your body as you get older and such. It just, becoming a cyber person is more and more, normal, kind of scary as it is. Or, or as they like to say, resistance is futile. So, wait, that's a different series. So yeah, there you go. What was your favorite Doctor Who geek out moment?
So I'm sure this is very fluid. And this might seem like a weird one, but I always click on this clip when it pops up in YouTube because I'm rewatching all of Doctor Who. I'm at the end of the second Doctor's run and getting ready to start into the third Doctor. But it's one from Matt Smith. And it's the one where he says, there's one thing you'll never, ever put in a trap, me from Time of the Angels. And there's just something about that scene that I just think is really powerful. And I just really liked him in that moment. I'm like, yeah, go Doctor.
Go Doctor, go. Yeah, go Doctor.
That one, every time I see it, I click on it. So I'm like, I don't know, that's a scene that just stands out for me.
You know what makes it actually even more incredible, that scene? That was his first episode that he filmed.
Yeah.
And everything, which is really awesome. Because, a little secret out there, they don't film Doctor Who episodes in order, folks. And so, so that was actually the very first episode that they did. And so it was it had so many powerful moments in it. And, between him and River, him and Amy, and just him and, the angels and such. And especially when he was talking to Angel Bob. And it was just like, that was such a great episode.
Agreed.
So that's pretty awesome.
I think Matt had more like Doctor Who, like dialogue or monologue moments than almost maybe any other Doctor. I mean, you can like, between that and then the one where he's like, in front of the, what's that one where he's sort of like addressing all of the bad guys and he's like, that whole speech that they always give other doctors,
the Pandorica opens.
Exactly, Pandorica, right? Where he's like, and there's other moments like that. Like they're just Matt had nailed so many of them, but he got a lot of opportunities to do that.
Exactly, he had some amazing speeches. Even his very first episode when he was talking to the Atraxi. And is this planet protected?
Yeah, absolutely,
and everything. And so, and then he walked out, hello, I'm the Doctor, and that was his Doctor moment. It was just like, oh, that is so awesome. So, and that was pretty cool. What was your most disappointing Doctor Who Geek Out moment?
The end of Legopolis. Let me explain why. It's a geek out for me because it was my first regeneration.
Right.
And not because anything was wrong with the story. Tom's run was deep and lengthy. For me, like I said, first regeneration, PBS licensing is a terrible thing. They didn't have any of the Peter Davison episodes. So I saw this regeneration. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get to see a new guy. Like I had traveled this whole journey. I'm going to get to see what this looks like. At that time, I knew what regeneration was.
Right.
There was enough fanzines and things out there that I at least had that kind of knowledge going on. But I'd never seen another Doctor. So this was going to be my chance. And they went right back to Robot. And which isn't a bad. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love all of that. So certainly a second go through was not a painful thing for me at all. But I wanted me some Peter Davison. My actual first Peter Davison story I actually encountered was not visual. It was in the sense that I read it in a book. It was the Target novel for Terminus. It was.
Oh, gotcha.
That was actually my first exposure to Peter Davison's Doctor. Was to read about it. And read the novelization of it, which was fantastic. But that's the reason why. It's got nothing to do with. It's not a negative on Legopolis itself. It was PBS licensing. It's like, please,
bingo,
give me my stories.
Nope, that's so true. That is so true. I always just get frustrated about it. And then finally at Pledge Drive, they started showing the Peter Davison episodes, but it was only like a couple of episodes of the first season. They didn't. And then we got the 5 Doctors. So, and that just also shows how old we are that we got to see the 5 Doctors when they showed it.
I think the 5 Doctors was the first time I saw Peter Davison as the Doctor as well.
I think a few of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Are you ready for your final question in the Geek Seat, Sean?
Go for it.
All right. What or who would you like to see on Doctor Who?
Some form of longer seasons. It's one thing with these last 2 seasons. If there's something that I would like to see more is that kind of pacing that came back like Eccleston's era, where we got a chance to see a little bit of a breathing of the character, a little bit of character development, not just for him, but the companions. I'd like to see some, a few more episodes in the season. If there's something that I would have liked to see this season, just a few more episodes. And the story obviously tailored to take advantage of those episodes, but that's something that I'd like to see. Just a longer build to the finale. I think there's more of a crescendo when that happens. It's a personal preference.
No, I agree. I think at least go back to 12 episodes, or
at least 10, because that's what like a lot of series like on other channels like Apple or Netflix or even Amazon does, is the 10 episodes. So 10 to 12 episodes I think would have been perfect to expand on the storyline more, maybe the mystery of who Poppy was or something like that. But we'll get into that in a few minutes. But Sean, got some great news for you, my friend. You've made it through the Geek Seat. Congratulations. You are now a full-grown Whovian. Yay. Mr. Mike Gordon, tell the young man what he's won.
You have won a lifetime supply of regeneration energy.
Ooh, can I get some?
Oh, I would love some of that right now.
It's pretty useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
it
you can
heals,
use it to you can use it to bring back Ernest Borgnine.
There you go.
or not.
Because that's funny.
Oh, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, there we go.
Sorry.
Well, okay, on that note, Sean, thanks for being a good sport about the Geek Seat, but let's take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. And we are going to be talking all about season 15 or 2 or whatever you want to call it. Woo. Hey there, Whovians. Welcome back. Now we are going to be talking all about the last season of Doctor Who. Not the final season, but this last season. Oh, yeah, I know. We don't know. We just don't know.
Well,
Yeah, for now, it's too many frippin' rumors going around, and we're not gonna. No. That can get dangerous.
Yep.
But we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff, and we're gonna talk about some of the fallout, some of the things that we are hearing and seeing. So we'll see what happens and everything with that. So let's get, it's been a week now since we've all been together. And has your feelings changed for it? Because I actually went back and I did watch the whole season again.
wow.
And it was 8 episodes. It wasn't that big of a deal.
That's 8 hours. Let's be clear. That's 8 hours.
Well, I need
still like it as much as you did.
Yeah, I do.
Did you completely change your mind?
Yeah, I'm giving the whole season a 2. Just kidding. No. I actually love this season. I'll start out and I'm just gonna say it. I think this season has been overall quality wise one of the best seasons probably since the end of the Capaldi era, and probably the season that had the Zygons and such in it. I think I've enjoyed it that much. And I think overall there wasn't any episodes that I really disliked. I thought Shooty came into his own with this season. I think he had his doctor moment. He wasn't crying in every single episode. And I liked Belinda. I really liked Belinda a lot. And rewatching the final, I am willing to admit that I agree with you guys that they did short her big time in the last episode. I think they sold her short because they were building such a strong character. But I also blame that on the rewrites that we'll talk about in a little bit. And we will, we have a lot to talk about. And I think if they would have gone with the original ending, I think it would have been stronger for me. And I would have loved to have seen what would be coming for the season 3 that they had planned, because it was supposed to be Belinda, the Doctor, and Ruby on the TARDIS together, and they were going to be searching for Susan and also for Poppy. So it was, all pretty cool if it would have been, but we'll get into that more in a little bit. What about you guys? What are your thoughts now, since you've had a week to stew on everything?
I loved most of this season. I hated the last episode. I still hate the last episode, but the rest of it
was, I mean, some were better than others, but overall, it was amazing. It's one of my favorite seasons of Doctor Who I've ever seen. And Shooty became one of my favorite doctors very quickly. I mean, like Sean was saying, he just brought this special kind of energy that we haven't seen in a while. And he was just totally fun to watch. And I'm so disappointed we're not going to get more of him. Though I understand, not blaming anybody, but it just, I don't know. I kind of feel like Michael was saying, Mikey G was saying last week, and that I'm finding it a little harder to be excited for the next season because I just don't trust RTD. And but I think there are also extenuating circumstances. I think when Shooty said he was going to leave, that really changed the story arc and not in a good way. And so that was unfortunate. But overall, it was a truly amazing season, and I'm so glad we had Shooty for the time that we did.
Agree. Mel?
I'm trying to. It still hurts. It's still too fresh. It's still too soon.
They're still pouring.
At the beginning,
they're still pouring lemon juice on the little paper cups.
It's the wound. I'm serious. It's like I'm trying. I was sitting here. I'm trying to make like the best analogy I can think of, and I can't even come up with one on how both. This I felt was the stronger season against Rubies, even though there was a lot of great Ruby ones in here. We're talking. Even when we planned this recap, we weren't planning like this was going to be the end of a Doctor. Like we were going to be done with the Doctor already. It's like I'm used to there being a process of we have a Doctor, the Doctor's announced, the actor's like, oh, we're not gonna, we're gonna end this will be my last season, and we get that at the beginning, so that way we also have the fun of going, who's gonna be the next Doctor?
Yeah, that was always the fun. We didn't.
And that was part of the fun.
Yeah,
oh, absolutely.
It's always because they always announce that the Doctor's leaving, and that's part of the fun is the speculation of who's going to be the new Doctor, and all of them, anywhere from Pierce Bronson all the way to
So yeah, I mean,
so many people.
I'm still just going through all my stages of grief. Where I can't, I'm past bargaining. That clearly isn't going to happen. But I'm just in bitter. At the stage bitter petty, that's where I'm at. Because it's so terrible, y'all. Because I really, really, really loved this season. I loved Belinda. I loved Shooty, of course. Ruby coming back, awesome. All the other little characters they were bringing in, some of the episodes were just fantastic. They finally brought in Carol Ann Ford.
Yes, they did.
And then whatever they were going to do with her has been ripped away.
Yeah, we have no clue what they're going to do or how they're going to have to rewrite everything.
Don't know. I'm hopeful that if that season 3 was going to be the search, it's going to be the search for Spock. I mean, Carol Ann Ford. I mean, Poppy. I mean, whatever was going to be.
Right.
They still keep some of those elements because again, we got Susan finally when we were all shouting for Susan, and the closest thing we had was the photo of her on Capaldi's desk. Anyway,
I know.
Again, angry. I'm just terrible, but. He was an amazing doctor. My husband absolutely got back into Doctor Who. I know other people who were getting back into it because this doctor had an effervescence about them. They had, to Sean's point, that energy that was just really, really fun, but also grounding. And he had all the different range of emotions that I loved. Oh, darn, he cried a lot. Boo-hoo, go away, people. Go away, haters. Anyway.
People are not in touch with their emotions.
Maybe try crying at some point. But anyway, I really, really, really love the episode, but the ending soured it for me for that to look back as an entire season. And I really hate saying that, but that's my feelings and my truth right now. Hopefully, as we get further along, maybe I'll change that, but right now I'm still just so bitter. I just
okay.
Shutting up.
All right, Mr. Gordon.
I was looking at this in a way that I was sort of trying to compare in my head this season from last season. You know, Shooty's only had two, unfortunately, and you know, I see a lot of people saying like, you know, Shooty really came into his own in the second season. I don't think there was a huge gap there for him to like, you know, rise up to, because I thought first season he was nailing everything. I didn't think that there was like any sort of like transitional, you know, issues, you know. And when I look at the first season and the second season, I have to say that, you know, I do think that the first 6 episodes of the second season were really all solid stories. And I really appreciate Russell T, like, just sort of allowing some other voices in that, you know, particularly with the story in the engine. I think the story in the engine was like the highlight for me of the second season. You know, the first season we had, you know, we had 73 yards, which creeped me out. And I don't think anything second season creeped me out as much as 73 yards did. The first season we had that amazing ending to Dot and Bubble, which just floored us all. I don't think we ever had a moment that was as powerful as that second season. We had Rogue, which I don't think we had anything that really sort of opened up that sort of ideas and what to do with the Doctor, and seeing him in a way that we hadn't seen him before, in a way like that. So I thought that there was some things that were things that were done the first season that we never kind of got close to. Add that to the fact that, you know, I thought Belinda started with such promise. You know, from anybody who was listening or watching us knows that I was in love with Belinda from day one.
You were?
And just to see how that sort of was undermined by the last couple of episodes really left a sour taste in my mouth. I'm still, you know, sort of wrestling with that. Quick question about that, by the way. So, you know, I think Russell T went sort of out of his way to tie things in throughout the season, which I have to give him some credit for, at least attempting, even though not all of them were done well by any means. I didn't realize, I guess, when we were watching the Lucky Day episode that, I mean, at the time, and I guess it's a flashback because through Conrad, that's how the Doctor knows to go after Belinda in the first place, right? So that's Lucky Day is supposed to be a flashback that starts the Doctor to get to Belinda in the Robot Revolution. Is that
Yes.
Is that what I'm supposed to infer? Like that kind
Correct.
of thing? So
Yeah.
I don't think that was played out very well. And there's so many things that weren't played out very well. Now, I said last week that I didn't care. You know, I just don't know if I care what happens now. And that was probably a bit harsh. I care about this franchise. I care about these characters. I care about Doctor Who. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm done.
No, I didn't take after editing you and everything last week. I didn't feel like that at all. That you were done.
And you know,
Mary, on the other hand, that's a whole different story.
Well, no, I mean, and
mad.
no, and I was, you know, but I do sort of, you know, I am throwing my hands up a little bit, and it, you know, and the fact that it is RTD is being RTD, and so if you're expecting more, forget it. Like that's just not going to happen. Like either embrace his all that he is, or you're going to be set up for heartbreak, right? So,
and that's one of the topics we'll actually talk about a little bit after, because you know, I want to hear what also Sean has to say.
Yeah.
And everything. So, but yeah, no, very good points, Mike. Very, very good points. Sean, what about you?
So let me put the season itself in a bubble for a second.
Okay.
Only because if you look at season 1, that to me felt like Act 1.
Yes.
Season 2 is Act 2.
Yeah, of course.
There's clearly an Act 3 to this one.
Yes.
I will admit I am really angry we're not going to get Act 3 because I feel like where this is building to, I wanted to see it. So let me just get that out of my system right now and leave that right there because that's a thing. So that's legit. I want Act 3. I'd like to see where this story is going to go. I hate when we're left dangling with that. I know they attempted to tie it up. They didn't.
No, not at all.
So let's go back then. I did what you did. Actually, when we were exchanging messages, one of the things I said is, I think I might try to give this a rewatch, and I did. I watched all of it, and I want to be clear. I didn't feel like I had to, so I felt would have been interesting commentary to say I couldn't make it through. I mean, that would have been the case. I mean, because that could have been a true legit thing. I didn't find that at all. I actually found rewatching it, I enjoyed it even more the second time through, and really, really, I say it again, I like him. And I like the companions. I liked that season one, there were so many things that did play from season one into season two.
Oh, sure.
Dangling threads is, we're going to have a discussion about dangling threads here because I think
yeah.
that's for all of us a problem. It's for me a problem. There's some dangling threads that I thought were really cool from both season one that we haven't paid off yet, and from season two that I'd like to see. But this season, I should say, was a joy. I watched every episode with my wife, which we don't do that very often with programs that I typically enjoy. She wanted to watch this, and we had a great time watching it. I think he was a very accessible doctor. He was fun. I thought the companions were great. I thought Belinda was an amazing character. And the last two episodes I like, and there's so much of it that I can see the potential to have absolutely loved it beyond a shadow of a doubt. There's some, I guess, walking in feeling like this was probably going to be a rushed ending. I walked in expecting that and enjoyed it quite a bit more than I would have if I didn't think that was going to be the case. But it was clearly a rushed ending.
Oh, yeah, very much so. I agree with that.
And I'm very concerned that they may have painted themselves into a corner with the ending. Just because I hope there's a plan on where to go with this, because I would love to see there being a plan with where to go with this and that there's some kind of template. I'm very afraid, though, that they've painted themselves into a corner, and that's probably my only concern. But as far as overall season, did I enjoy myself watching this season? I watched it twice. I'll watch it a third time. I loved it. I want the third act.
I do too. I would have loved to seen what Russell was going to do, because not only did he have the whole thing with Susan, now with Poppy, then also still had the other gods out there. And then there's the whole thing with the boss, the whole thing with he who waits, type thing. And so will we ever even see the end of that? We don't know. We don't know.
Very much like the end of Matt Smith's era.
Yeah.
It really reminds me of that. Like when Matt let Steven know that he was leaving, and Steven was like, "Oh crap."
Yeah.
Now what do I do?
Yeah. Except I think even more's on the line this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just sort of it's huge. It's a lot larger now.
Well, exactly. And, this episode, the final was wrapped. They had finished recording and filming it almost a year ago. And they were already, RTD was already going and writing, had already written most of the episodes or had people writing for season 3. And it was all, everything was planned out. The final was originally supposed to only be a 45-minute episode. And they, when they announced that, Ncuti announced to the crew that he was leaving, they had to go, oh crap, we need to do, and because even Ncuti was on board, even in October, he was already saying, hey, we're getting ready to film season 3. We're, production's going to be starting early 2025. And then somewhere in that period from October until February, when they started doing the reshoots, he announced that he was leaving. And so, from what I've heard, and from multiple sources, this is just not one place that I've heard this, the episode changed from when he came back, where the whole reshoot was from when he came back to Unit after Ronnie had passed and got eaten, and Miss Flood said, later dudes, pretty much. And so, that's where it was supposed to, start wrapping up. And the whole thing with,
Poppy and everything being Belinda's daughter, you know, just and all being completely human, that all was in the rewrite and everything. And because there's even photography and stuff of multiple scenes that, you know, that was supposed to end or such. At unit headquarters, they were having a celebration for beating the Ronnie and Omega. So, and they even had that on the one scene with the Doctor and Belinda at the disco. That was the, you know, the image they used for coming, you know, this episode of Doctor Who, you know, type thing. And it was like, wait, that's not in this episode. Where did it go? Oops. So it was interesting, and rewatching it, there was actually, when the whole regeneration scene, when he's, you know, was in the TARDIS and saying, I'm not alone type thing. And, you know, we wouldn't have gotten the Jodie scene, you know, originally. That was all filmed in March. And so it was, you know, basically, you know, a huge sadness when I saw the regeneration this time. And because I think the first time I watched it, I was like the oh crap moment. Oh, what's going on? What's this regeneration? And, you know, saying, no, this is not real. This is a dream sequence. He's going to walk out of the shower or something, you know, type thing, you know. But, you know, but literally it was like, oh crap. And seeing it you know, this is the third time I've seen it, because I've watched it twice before we reviewed it. Watching it the third time I was actually sad watching it, because we were missing out and everything. And, you know, I hope they come up with something great for Billy. I really want to see something great. And I think she's going to do great in the role. Even if it's, you know, even if it's a quick, you know, 1 or 2 episode thing, or like a Christmas special or something else, you know, to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the new series, whatever, you know, I still, you know, I think she's going to do great. And
I really think Billy's, she's stunt casting. She's a placeholder.
Yeah.
I don't see her going, personally, I don't see her going a whole season.
No, I don't either.
I don't see that. If she does, I'd be impressed. I'd be surprised. But I really just see this as either the Christmas, a few episodes, what have you. I don't know. I really wonder if this is hey, I'm just a placeholder and until Shooty gets back. But I don't know, because now it's there's question marks because
they hire somebody else. Yeah.
Right, because now it's whatever project Shooty's off to do. What happens if it gets picked up? And what happens to this?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, a friend of mine I was talking with about it and said, you know, what happens if, you know, she has Billy's doctor and we don't even know if she's the doctor, you know, because it doesn't say introducing Billy Piper as the doctor. But, you know, I'm going to just call her the doctor for right now, because we don't know any different. I don't want to call her Bad Wolf. I don't want to call her The Moment. I don't want to call her Rose. You know, she's the doctor to me right now. And my friend was like going, wouldn't it be great for the Christmas special, they brought back Dr. 14 with this doctor? And it's like, no.
I watch it.
I know you would.
Much to your chagrin, I'd watch it.
I know.
Watch it too.
I will watch it anyway.
We'll
all watch it, but you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll be happy to turn it on. Let me put it that way. Going,
Okay.
Yay, this is going to be awesome.
But
Or
yeah,
like,
I'll watch it grudgingly. Yeah. But
right
yeah,
now, I'm more excited for the spinoff than I am for the next season of Doctor Who, because the ending just turned me off. And I understand RTD was under a lot of pressure and he had to do all these sudden rewrites, but he could have rewritten it better, frankly. He certainly didn't have to fridge Belinda in the way that he did.
No, I agree.
That was a terror. I don't know if she's coming back next season or not, but what a terrible ending for a companion if she's not. I mean, what a waste. Just
same thing with Ruby. We have all these questions still about her that, you know, that would never answered, that I would love to, you know, find out, you know, what put the fear of God into the maestro about her? How does she remember Poppy? How does, all these different things? How did she remember the doctor, in the episode before in Wish World, type thing? How did she know all this? There's more to it than, is just generally let on. So are we going to get that, or is it just going to be because Doctor Who, type
Well,
thing?
maybe that's what's bothering me so much about the last episode, because it did sort of feel like, well, Shooty left, so I'm just going to wash my hands of this whole thing.
Yeah, the whole gods thing. Yeah,
just
everything.
it's like a little boy. Somebody took my toy away, so I'm just gonna,
Taking the etch a sketch.
right.
Blank now.
No,
And
exactly.
I'm just going to start over. And you didn't need to do that. I mean,
Well-
you didn't have to continue on with the same arc, but you could have tied it up in a better way.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I mean, I'll say, I'll say this, I'm not, yeah, but I mean, Steven did the same thing with Matt, like there were all those threads and
Oh, no, you're
everything he
right.
had built up there. And then when Matt left, Steven just said, screw it, I'm just going to,
Yeah.
all that stuff is gone. Like,
Right.
we're not going to address that ever again. I've got a new doctor now, new companion, not necessarily a new companion, but we're just going to keep going. We're just going to move forward.
And you forgot everything.
Yeah.
Like, what? The doctor regenerates?
And look, depending on how things go, like if we're going to do a new streaming service or new things I mean, maybe that's for the best, because do you want to carry all that baggage with you if you're going to a new doctor, a new streaming service, a new companion, a new everything, right? Like, you don't want to have all that baggage with you, right? Like, because that's just going to alienate viewers even more, I think. And that's the other thing about Billy Piper coming in, is that I don't think it attracts anybody who's not interested in Doctor Who to begin with. So,
No.
I
not at
don't
all.
think if your goal is to move on and go into bigger and better and make this franchise a bigger and better thing, that's the other thing I think Russell has kind of fallen down on and failed to do, because he's just managed to just basically alienate some of his fan base, which he was doing anyway. So he's used to that. He doesn't mind that. He loves actually a part of that, I think. But with that said, you got to attract new people. If you're gonna tick some people off, you better get some new people to replace them. And I just don't know how well he's doing that. But my understanding, and is that he's still the guy in charge, right? Like he's still, like, if there's going to be Doctor Who in the foreseeable future, he's still the guy in control.
Well, yeah, Bad Wolf Productions is still in control of, pretty much.
So no matter what goes on from here, we're stuck with RTD. For better or for worse. And I think it could be, look, as bad as things can be, and we're looking at things are not great, but they could be worse.
Yeah.
I mean, RTD did come in and save us from an unknowable future after Chibnall. Like, things were pretty bad after the Chibnall era, right? Like, we were thinking can they get lower? And Russell T came in and sort of said, I'll take it over. I'll make it mine again. And I'll bring it to new heights and everything like that. And we had faith in him, and we were glad, because at the time, the alternatives looked pretty bleak.
Right. No,
And we did get 2 good seasons.
We did.
Out of it.
did.
And
We did.
yeah, and I think overall the good far outweighed the bad.
Oh, very
Oh,
much
I
so.
agree. Yeah.
And the thing is also,
Melody's not convinced about that.
That ending, though.
I know, but just also remember, RTD, everyone was like praising, oh, Russell T, he's going to take it to new heights, new things. And if you remember, there was a lot to be pissed off with Russell T Davies, the first run he did and everything.
Sure.
So there were, stinker episodes, and there were stories like that he left things hanging also. So what worries me now is, like Mike said, is he could be like a little baby and just like, I have an Etch-a-Sketch with all my plots on it. Shake, 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 shake. I'm going to, get rid of everything and all the stories. And it's going to be a whole new doctor and a whole new storyline.
So, and I hope not. I really hope not.
I'm all for the concept of a new storyline and heading in a new direction to make it accessible for new people. I'm all for that. The problem is, though, you've got a fan base. So you've got to find that healthy balance of keeping your trust of your fan base. The one only thing I really hate about all this right now is the dangling threads. And I feel like there were so many of them that were so interesting. Susan being one of them. I mean, we've waited so long for that.
Almost 60 years.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways to introduce that to a new audience. As far as if you're trying to start off a new series and make it accessible, there's ways to introduce pieces from this that some of the pieces you're going to probably have to let go because of the fact that we've got a different doctor. So some of them are so specific to him. I kind of get that. I don't like it, but I kind of get it. I more wanted him around for Act 3, so that we could have gotten the payoff to those things. So I get that some of it's got to be abandoned ship. There are some pieces that don't need to be, though, that could be carried over if there's a plan. I don't think there is one right now because there's been a lot of time to have a plan put together. I'd like to be wrong. I want to be wrong. I would love to go, oh my gosh, they were planning to do this all along. I do think you can make a plan out of this, where they've left us right now. And I think that plan could be, there's a lot of directions this could go that could be satisfying. Some short term, some longer term. So I wouldn't mind seeing a longer term plan that was like really had some depth to it out of this, what they've left us with right now, where I'm kind of going, oh, wow, they did that with this. And I want to be amazed and surprised. So whatever route they go, long or short, I hope that this series is able to weather this and land somewhere where in a relatively short period. I mean, I know we're not going to have next season. We're going to have that whole next season where we're not going to have something. I hope it's not too long.
No, I hope not either. Yeah, that's what worries me also is how long now are we going to wait? Because, are we going to wait till end of 2026, 27? Are we like going back to not having Doctor Who for almost 2 years?
Yeah, we are.
Because I don't know Lord knows when it comes to contract, because now we're in the business end of all of this. I really can't even think about the creative side to it, because now it's, all right, so Disney's not going to distribute, so they're not going to put any funding in. So now they're back to square one on, okay, so where do we air it? Where do we get funding? Whether we can get that funding beforehand to put it into the show for season 3, so we know how many episodes we're going to have. Then on top of that, oh Lord, I just lost my train. But so you have your budget for you have your budget for your cast, you have your budget for your crew, you know who you're going to hire. Can you afford Billy for 8 seasons or eight episodes? Can you afford her for less? Are you going to have to now have a new person? Where's your merchandising? And more importantly, what contracts did you already sign that you already had? And did they end with this season? Did Disney stuff end here? Or did Disney have this licensing for distribution for the first 2 seasons for a while? So now you're going to have your fan base going, okay, we'll go to, let's just say Netflix for the hell of it. Go to Netflix to watch season 3.
We don't know anything, folks. We don't know where they're going.
We don't know. No.
But she's just using it as an example.
I'm just using this as an example. So clearly it's maybe Disney, maybe not. So there's a lot of business side that now has to be taken care of, which supports the point of when's the next season.
Exactly. No, you're exactly right. Because you don't know.
Are we even? So we're not getting a Christmas episode, right?
We don't know.
This year.
We don't know.
I mean, I don't see how we could.
He's been saying we are not going to get a Christmas episode.
I mean, he'd have to be filming it like now.
Yeah. I mean, RTD has said we're not getting a Christmas episode.
Yeah.
I mean, now
we can't. I don't see how we could, because they'd have to be filming it like live. It aired like they're live. They're gonna,
right. It's the first live Doctor Who
on Christmas Day. Yay!
But
get your VPNs ready, because it'll only be on BBC.
Right.
And to Sean's point, I do agree that the Susan thread is the most important to take care of. But for no other reason is that poor Carol Ann Ford is not getting any younger.
She's 84 years old, folks. Come on, I
mean, exactly. Do we want, is she going to be 90 when we're going to be refilming? Like, we're going to start a new season? That's terrible. It's terrible to think about, but yet you've waited this long, unfortunately, to use her, and now you're stuck like this. It just that's a bad position to be in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's likely we will get less episodes, not more episodes, because of the money situation. I mean, a lot of the UK shows are like, 4 episodes, 5 episodes. So, that's going to make it even harder also. And and there's so much competition out there right now.
Oh,
I think
very much so.
if I almost feel like Doctor Who is in a more precarious position now than they were after Chibnall, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really wondering which way this is going to go.
Oh, that's true because, the future is cloudy for our friend on the TARDIS. So it'll be very curious to see where it ends and where it goes. And hopefully, hopefully the momentum will pick up a little bit with the spinoff coming either September or October is what I'm hearing right now for it.
Where's the TARDIS right now, the set for the big TARDIS that they invested a lot of money in?
Isn't that in Cardiff?
It's Cardiff.
It's in Cardiff?
It's at Bad Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they? All I could think is they were hoping that whole set was going to stay for at least minimum 3 years for Shooty.
Yes.
And that they were going to go ahead and start filming again and, back on. So I'm just kind of hoping please don't destroy the set. I really like that. I really like the interior of this TARDIS, please.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have to realize that you're going to have to. I hope that they built it in a way that they could break it down and put it into storage if they have to.
Right. It's funny because folks who started on the new series don't have the infinity, that we have for the round things.
Yes.
Because they had, the
it's
other
meaningless
TARDIS.
to them.
Yeah, exactly. But folks who came from the old series, it's like, the round things. I miss the round things, So it's always interesting with that. And, I love the different desktops. I flat out say it. I started, I loved the wood panel room that Tom Baker had. I loved the one that McGann had in the movie. I thought that was also awesome because it almost felt like it was almost in a mansion or something, type thing.
Like a library.
A library, exactly. And then when they brought the new series in, I loved, Eccleston's, and was this pretty much the same for Tennant's all the way through. And then I loved Matt's because it was so steampunk. And it was fun. Even had the pinball machine thing with it and everything. It was always cool. But then Capaldi's was great because it felt like it was a professor's study with the different levels and the libraries and the books and the chalkboard and then an area for him to play his guitar. So it was pretty cool. So it was neat. And the first one I didn't like was. Damn it, Chibnall. I did not like Jodie's. I just didn't. But then when they brought in for Tennant, when he came back as 14 and they brought in this version of the TARDIS control room, I thought it was amazing. It was like, the round things are fully back. This is great. And I loved how there was LED lighting behind it changed and everything.
The motion.
Exactly. And so that was pretty cool.
One of the things I really liked about this one too was that it was a character on its end of itself. This idea of it, because of how big it was fun to watch them, and they had fun going to, we're changing clothes now because we're in a new era and there's a reason to do it. And the TARDIS, became this vehicle that did more for them. And I like the Doctor in his outfit. It's more that's kind of my thing. I like that everyone else changes, but the Doctor always kind of wears. This one, I got really used to the fact that, oh no, it's kind of fun that they are going in and wearing new outfits based on the era. And he had the same excitement for it and actually brought that to his companions. Mm-hmm. And I liked that energy between both of them with him. Mm-hmm. And they went into those eras. It wound up being a way of bonding at times. For Belinda, it was a way of bonding where she's like, I want off of this thing right away. And gradually she was easing into the fact that it's not all bad.
I get to play dress up. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I loved how even, with Shooty's doctor, his hair even changed. They had wigs for him and even for the companions. And it was awesome to be able to see that. And I loved they were not afraid to change the doctor's hairstyle, because that was one of the bitching I heard from people. The doctor should just be in one costume, and it's like, no.
Why?
Depending on the mission he's on, he needs to blend in, or he needs to, to do it. And because it was always weird, especially like go back to like Tom Baker's era. They're on this, in ancient times in ancient Rome, and there's this guy with a long trench coat and scarf wandering around. Wouldn't people think, hey, that person doesn't fit in here, type thing. So it was just, I loved that about it. And I thought that was one of the cool things about it. So, and, I'm still hoping for the future that eventually we'll get Frobisher the Penguin. So, we'll see.
Well, we've seen almost everybody else at this point, so I'm not going to be surprised.
Yep. It would be interesting.
Big Finish did it, so there's no reason why we couldn't have it on TV.
Exactly.
We got
Finish can do it a lot
AI
cheaper.
Yeah.
True.
It's easier to do an AI penguin than doing a Beep the Meep or, something like that. So I'll be very curious to see what happens. One can
That'll
only
be
wish.
the next. That's the next Doctor. It's an AI.
Oh,
Please, no.
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 No, not at all.
How quickly I'll turn it off. Sorry.
Chat GTP.
Nope, bye.
Bye. As the new doctor. Introducing Chat GPT. Yeah, as the doctor.
I hope that's not the only way we can get it.
We've cut our costs even more. Like, no.
well, we'll always have Big Finish.
Yes.
We will. And hopefully, we'll get, Shooty sooner than later.
True.
And everything. A friend of mine, actually, who's a wrestling fan, was like, maybe it's all just a piece of wool they're pulling over our eyes till Shooty's, like Mel was saying, like how till Shooty could come back to the series. And that, they're doing, he put it, an R-truth to us. So, because on WWE, they, played it that this one wrestler was fired, but he actually...
Yeah.
And everything, he came back, and so a couple of friends wrote me and said, "Do you think that's what's happening with the new doctor? That's not really Rose." And it's like
they're asking you if it's a work or a shoot. You're like,
Exactly.
I don't know.
Right,
They don't
right.
even know.
No,
Well, RTD can be the biggest heel, so.
he is the Mr. McMahon of Doctor.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
But yeah. But overall, I think this last season was amazing. It really was. And, watching Lux again, watching, the spider story, the story in the engine was just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And watching it again, it's quickly becoming one of my favorite of the new series. It's up there. And so...
It's a really good episode.
Yeah, but it was funny. Judy turned to me and said, when we were watching, because we watched a couple of the last season also, and we watched Rogue, and she was like, isn't Rogue going to be really surprised when Billy Piper's doctor shows up to rescue it?
They even remember, and they're just not just never mind.
Never mind.
I really hope we see Rogue again, because I really liked Jonathan Groff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great, but I got a feeling we may never see him again.
No, he warned everybody about the tables. The tables aren't supposed to do that, and that was his final thing. Exactly. But it's, and that also goes to show, because they filmed that scene from that episode last season, so RTD had this all planned out, and literally everything got thrown out the window.
Yeah, well, he said he had it all planned out over 3 seasons.
A 3-season arc for this.
Mm-hmm. So.
But yes, I'll be very curious to see where we go. And, as we always like to say, folks, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here to talk all about older Doctor Who. I guess we might be going more into Big Finish if we run out of episodes to talk about, but that's okay. None of us disliked the Big Finish stuff. And just think of all the River song we could talk about and hear that theme again. So it's
God,
awesome.
I hope they changed it for the new River Song series.
I haven't heard any of them yet, so I've been waiting till we got up to that point. So,
I know I'm going to rewatch this season. I'm going to rewatch the last one and this one. However, it's going to be the same way how I still to this day will rewatch Game of Thrones. I just skipped the last episodes at the ending, and it's just perfect.
Totally support that.
It's like, and we're good. Done.
Yeah, ended at the Red Wedding. It's a perfect spot to play.
I do it at the end for the Night King, and done.
Like,
exactly. Okay, look, everybody. We had people who won. We had people who lost some. We'll be fine. I don't watch it after that. I'm good.
You're good. You're good.
It'll be like the same thing here. It's like, oh no, the Ronnie.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll go to something else.
Yeah, sounds about right. Oi, 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 oi. All right, let's jump in real quick. The War Between the Land and the Sea. What did you guys think of the trailer?
Looks fun. I mean, actually, I thought it was a decent trailer. And I mean, I thought the Sea Devil looks pretty cool, the way they've done her.
It looks a little bit too much like a Silurian, basically.
Yeah.
Well, they are actually related to the Silurian.
Yeah, but because we have seen in the new series the Sea Devils, in Jodie's era, so I was fully expecting to see them, and then instead we got a character who looks more like a hybrid or something.
Well, which she is, for all we know.
Yeah.
Which, because I think I almost assumed, because I thought that too. At first when I started watching it, I wasn't thinking it was Doctor Who, because the tone was so much. It's more serious and darker. Yeah. It's absolutely more Torchwood.
Yes.
But then I forgot that, we saw the Sea Devils before in Jodie's era, and I'm going, or like at least for the new version of them.
Yes.
So I almost wonder if they did that because they could emote more if they went with a makeup that's more prosthetic heavy on, or at least to your facial features, so that the actors and the actresses can move a little bit more like
and breathe
and
show emotions. Yeah,
you can show emotion rather than the kind of a puppet kind of vibe with it, with how heavy the prosthetics are, whether you have eyes, maybe that's it, you can actually see. So that's where I was kind of getting that vibe of why they changed the look. But yeah, I don't know if she's a hybrid. I don't know if they're I don't know. I'm interested.
She's like the queen, and the rest of them are drones or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe.
Maybe.
That's not a bad way to put it. I liked it. Loved seeing, of course, you saw Kate. You got to see some of the other unit folks, but more serious than Doctor Who. And yeah, it definitely had a Torchwood vibe to it a lot.
We need that.
Yeah, I do think so.
I like Doctor Who. I think lends itself to having spinoffs. I mean, we don't get a lot of them, but Torchwood, I loved Torchwood back in the day. I'm glad it's not Torchwood, and don't get me wrong, it's not knocking Torchwood, but Torchwood's been done. I like that this is an attempt to do something different. I think it does look really interesting. If it pays off as good as it looks, at least from the intro, I'm hoping people give it a shot, because if it does better than expected, we might get more of it, or more of that type of attempt. And I would love that. That's a great way to fill in some time between, while here's the thing, we left kind of pretty gloom and doom at the end going, what's going to happen with our Doctor Who? It's nice to have stuff like this going on where we're getting a Doctor Who type fix, and while they're figuring out what to do with the show proper. So I'm really excited for this, and I'm cautiously optimistic that this is going to be something that's really going to surprise me. I like this different tone. I don't want it to try and be Doctor Who light.
No, exactly.
Let it do its own thing and breathe and have. I like it more mature is a good thing. Just because it's for a different audience. That's okay.
Oh, very much so. And it looks like it's going for a more mature audience, more than like Class went for kids and such, or even Sarah Jane went for a younger audience. I think this is going more for the Torchwood folks, the more grown-up side.
I like how it's fleshing out the universe for Doctor Who, that there's more things going on within this franchise, this fandom.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm gonna love it until we get a Mike and Gary spinoff also. So there we go.
Yes,
any day now.
Yes.
The thing I love about it is that it looks like Kate Lethbridge Stewart is front and center. Give me more Gemma Redgrave. Give me more Gemma Redgrave. Give me more Gemma Redgrave. So she can, she's my reason to watch the series, because she, as the head of unit, she's just great.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I feel like they used her better in the last 2 seasons than in like the Chibnall era. I mean, this actually isn't bashing Chibnall so much, but they just didn't. Okay, it is, but they just didn't. They didn't make her feel like a leader of this sort of paramilitary operation. Now she feels like a leader of this operation because she's much more badass. She's much more questioning. She's much more standing up for herself, or throwing herself in front of other people, or, showing her leadership qualities. And they were just not doing that with her before.
Well, it's also because she has Avengers Tower now, so it's okay.
Yes, that does help. And it spins.
But they showed her human side too. Like I agree 1000%. I mean, as far as her leadership, that really stood in front and center. But I absolutely loved the fact that there were moments like when Ruby was able to go to her and she showed that softer side. It did not take away in one instance the strength that we got to see from her. And I absolutely loved every bit of that.
And you also saw how cold she could be. Look at what she did to Ruby in 72 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was because that she had built that relationship with Ruby that was so chilling.
Right.
They did the homework on that. I do think that one of the things that I did really like about Ruby is the relationship she had with Kate. Yes, it was a quote unquote yet another mother, but yet their relationship seems like it was more than that. And it was those moments were really nice, and that was played out in the second season as well. So
Yeah.
I do enjoy them together. I kind of am kind of going to miss Ruby being in the miniseries.
Yes. Well, it'll be interesting to see.
See if we get any cameos. They're not going to tip their hand of that,
Yeah.
but I would be shocked if we didn't have some kind of cameo from somebody.
Well, I'm still hoping for, we're getting a certain Doctor's Companion from the 10th Doctor era coming in. I would love to see Martha in that spinoff. Sure. But, not holding my breath. So, but Freema would be perfect in that role as, as a true as a doctor. Not the doctor, but as a doctor. So.
Well, the odd thing is that we're getting the actress that played her sister, but she's not playing her sister. So I think that's kind of weird, but
that's
okay.
Very Doctor Who.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Because we're getting Alonzo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he's not playing Alonzo.
But he's not Alonzo.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. So yeah, I think we do. So we still got good stuff to look forward to. And, when we start finding out other Doctor Who news, you guys at home will be the first to find out about it up here on the show. And we won't talk about rumors. We won't go, hey, I've heard that, Captain Jack's back for blah, 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 because he'll be the next Doctor. No, because another familiar face. It's like, no.
I do think it's in RTD and the franchise's best interest to get ahead of things and try to come up with some sort of plan and make some sort of announcement this summer. I'm not saying that we're going to get it, but it would, especially with the BBC involved, how they like to keep things hush-hush until the last minute. But I think in this case, based on the way things ended, and I'm not saying we need all the answers, but something to sort of get excited about, it would be probably in their best interest to try to get on top of this and give us something this summer.
Because I remember, how much fanfare they got last year for Doctor Who being at San Diego again. and being in back in Hall H.
Yep.
It's not happening this year.
Yeah, it's not.
No. And I don't think they'll do it just for the war between the land and the sea.
No.
Yeah.
So poor San Diego. What are they going to do? No Doctor Who, no Marvel.
No Marvel.
Yeah. So, I think that convention's on its way down. So
they don't send Marvel in on a D23 year.
Nope, exactly. Well, I think they also pushed Marvel back because the pushback on Doomsday. So, because they got pushed back to December of 2026. And so that way, they have next year's San Diego to promote it and everything. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Anyway, any final thoughts before we head out of here for this last season? Was there any episode that stood out for you guys the most?
Well, there were two. One was a story in the engine, which
yes, agreed completely.
Yeah, so nice to see something that we don't get to see a lot of, a story of a culture that we don't get to see a lot of, and they told it well, and I love that. And I also I thought Lucky Day was done really well, even though it was kind of soul crushing to watch it.
even the second time to watch it.
But it's written well. And I mean, and it touches on a lot of things that, a lot of women have gone through, and they do it well. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of highlights to this season. It was a good season, and I'm really sorry that it ended the way it did. And I don't want that to overshadow the fact that it was a good season.
Okay. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, I think it's a testament that these last two seasons, especially this last season, had so many good moments, so much potential, so much that we were excited about, that's why the ending hit us as hard as it does. And that's why we are feeling the way we're feeling, is because those 6 episodes were so good and so solid, and we're very passionate about where this franchise can go, that now it's just a matter of how do you get that magic back?
Mm-hmm. Hell, Doctor Who even broke the fourth wall in Lux, and we got to see our fandom up on the screen.
Yeah.
And that was just amazing.
I want to shout out Interstellar Song Contest. I just loved some of the moments between Belinda and the Doctor there. The Doctor went to a very dark place, and you got why in those situations. We don't get to see him go there because he's so controlled all the time. We don't get to see him go there very often. You got why he did. I think as a viewer, I was disappointed in him, but not in the sense that it was the wrong move to make. It was just, that's the way you feel for your friend when you're seeing him go through that. I loved Belinda's reaction. And I think that's an example of how you use the companion. She's looking at, that's not him. I mean, that line when she said that was so powerful. I thought she did a great job when she was looking at him and seeing him, just the way that he was reacting on the screen. They were separated, and there was so much that they didn't know about what the other was going through. But I loved the way that the reaction was going on from her as she was witnessing these things and seeing them. I thought that was just a very well put together episode.
In that episode, it's the one I felt that those two came together as a doctor and companion. Mm-hmm. And, I thought they were great before, but that cemented them. And it's oh, this is going to be fun watching them for the next season or so. Little did we know. Oh, well.
That was it.
Yeah.
I know. But
well, they were, the next time we see them, they're in bed together. So,
well, there you go. Every fan of Doctor Who wants to see the Doctor in bed with his companion. Oi. So
watch the first 6.
Exactly.
Just watch the first 6.
There you go.
So good.
Yes, agreed. So, folks, thank you again for putting up with us for the whole season. We really appreciated it. And we definitely, if you've made it this far into the video, please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. And if you want to write us, please, of course, write us feedback at our Station Who. And speaking of writing us, we did get a piece of email.
What?
Yes, we did. That's right. Our friend Peter wrote us again.
Yay!
Hey, Peter.
I was going to say, is it Peter?
Of course it's Peter.
Awesome.
I was going to say, Elaine was just here.
Yeah. That's true. Elizabeth was here. So.
Oh, sorry, Elizabeth. Right. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll edit that part. I'll edit that part out. She's our #1 fan, dude.
So Peter wrote us and he said, "Hi, Mike. Enjoyed the podcast on Reality War and like that you all had mixed feelings. Here are a couple thoughts that I had. I never could figure out why Poppy was in the show unless it was an excuse for Belinda to be a stay-at-home mom instead of nursing. That said, I do not think we have seen a successful Doctor Who story dealing with child. Never works out. Then number 2, what the hell happened to Susan? We talked about that. Agree Ronnie was a waste and the Omega was kind of a joke. All that effort by Ronnie for a 2-minute trip down his gullet. That we didn't like we talked about that last week. Shooty was awesome and breathed life into the franchise and had the coolest regeneration. And he said, I don't know where the series will go from here, but I will be watching it keenly. Sorry for the long email. Feel free to shorten it as needed. Trust me, Peter, that is not a long email. We've gotten multi-page emails in the past. So thank you for writing and keeping up with us, Peter. We do appreciate you guys. And like we said, please write us. We definitely would love to hear from you guys. All right, let's wrap it up and say thank you to this wonderful group of people who joined us. Sean, thank you. And you made it through the Geek Seat with us. We do appreciate it, my friend.
Like a survivor.
Exactly. You are the survivor. Ta-da. And you want to promote your shows?
Yeah, Raging Bullets is at ragingbullets.com. And Is It Jaws you can find at twotruefreaks.com. So thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
Oh, not a problem. Always a pleasure. And we'll have you back sooner than later. Actually, it might be fun to get you on to talk about one of your favorite episodes of Doctor Who.
Great.
Awesome. Let's also thank our regulars for being here. Mr. Mike Gordon, we made it through another one.
We did. And as always, it's my pleasure.
Anything you want to promote, sir?
Just the 2 other podcasts that I'm part of that are going on right now. One is the Dragon Con Report, which we're getting excited. It's only 80 days away. Goodness gracious, me in the shin. So yeah, we're going to be talking, I think in the next episode, we're going to be talking with one of the guys behind the Star Trek track. So that should be exciting. And then, of course, Bat Chums with Drew Leiter, where we are reviewing all the episodes of the classic 60s series of Batman, which we are halfway through the 2nd season.
Very nice.
Things are bonkers.
Oh, of course. You haven't gotten to the giant clam episode yet, though.
No.
I think that's season 3.
Episode where they got turned into frogs.
Awesome. There you go. Ms. Melanie Dean, thank you as always.
And thank you for giving me a spot to chat Who with some of the awesome people here on the internet.
Want to promote your stuff real quick?
You can find me on Instagram at Pieces of Melee, or you can see my stained glass stuff at Diamond Tech Crafts.
Awesome. Good stuff there. Check it out, folks. And another wonderful artist who is on the show, Ms. Mary Ogle. Thank you for being here.
Oh, anytime. I love talking Doctor Who with you guys.
Oh, it's a blast. And for the folks at home who think we're just going away now that the season's done, nope.
Nope.
Mary, where can people find your artwork?
You can find my art at maryogle.com or on Etsy at eVision Arts.
Excellent. All right. Very cool stuff going on. My stuff. My other podcasts that I produce over on Tales from Hollywoodland. We are, of course, this week we are talking about TV stars who then went on to become huge movie stars. It was a fun episode to talk about. And, we were just like naming names and talking about, oh, remember this person when he was on this TV show? And it's like, oh, yeah, what about this person? We could have done probably about 10 episodes just naming off names. There are just so many folks who've made it big and everything. So it's pretty cool stuff. And then over on Julian Schlossberg's Movie Talk, we are talking this week to Susie Essman. Susie is a stand-up comedian, but she's also best known for Curb Your Enthusiasm. And so she's been on that show since season 1. So definitely check it out. And, it's not for the lighthearted because, she cursed on the show quite a bit. And she does that in real life, too. So
we found out the hard way. So it was kind of fun. You can find those shows wherever fine podcasts are found. And we will be back. Our schedule is going back now to every 2 weeks instead of weekly. So we will be back with our next episode, and we are looking at the restoration of the Savages, the first Doctor story. So that's going to be a ton of fun to do. And I read the Target book years ago, but this will be fun to actually see it come to life. It would be great if we had the originals, but, I'll do with the animation. So until then, my name is Mike Faber. I've been your host for tonight. On behalf of the crew, thank you for listening. And we will be back, and we'll see you then. Peace, and we are done. Bye.
Woohoo!
Everyone wave. Bye. Bye. Pretend we like everybody. Bye.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from throughout space and time. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individuals and are to be used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our show wherever fine podcasts are found, or check out our website, earthstationwho.com. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook or Instagram, and if you enjoyed the show, please write to us at feedback@earthstationwho.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next journey of Earth Station Who.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping for the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.